I have some friends. They are actually friends. I don't like none of them, but they're friends. Hallelujah. Are they looking at me? They are. Wow. I have friends that are here with me today. They are business owners. And they have been in business for a while, and their stories are phenomenal. Their stories are phenomenal, and I am looking forward for the knowledge that they're going to bring. I'm going to give each one of them 3 minutes or so each to talk about who they are, their business, and then from there, I'm going to open the floor for you to ask questions, right? They have years and years of experience in the business, so ask questions, okay? Ask questions. Remember, I told you I ask a lot of questions when it comes to business, okay? Because you can't go anywhere not asking questions, right? I wouldn't have never got that revelation from, and I remember who it was now, right? Mr. Truitt. I called him Mr. Truitt. He corrected me quickly. He said, "My name is golly, what was his?" Kathy. He said, "My name is Kathy." At the time I was working there, he was in his 90s, coming to work every day, right? We was on the elevator together, and I said, "Mr. Truitt," he said, "My name is Kathy." I apologize. That's how humble they were, right? And when he told me how $1 billion a year over what they did the prior year for 5 years by multiplying the fruit that God had already given them, it blew my mind. So I don't care how much money they have in your... Listen, I wish I would run up on Elon Musk right now. I have so many questions for him. Lord Jesus, I'm a techie too, or I'm going to burn his ear off. But we actually would have a good conversation because he's an engineer genius techie, right? I mean, I would just keep pulling his string, right? Because, they will go on and go on. But so don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions. These guys have a ton of knowledge, and you need that knowledge to launch your next business, all right? So this is the start of your research, all right? This is the start of your research, right? In the planning, what did I say? Start with research. This is the start of your research by asking somebody who has already paved the way. It may not be in your business, but it is in a business, and they can tell you the ins and outs. Okay? Would you do me a favor? Give God the biggest praise you can for these young men that He has sent with us today. All right, I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves. Let's go from my left to your right, and Brother Will, Brother Eric, and then Brother Jeremy.
All right, greetings. How everybody doing? Good. My name is William Thomas. I am the president and CEO of Insurance Services 3 in Atlanta, Georgia. We're down in East Point. I'm basically a risk mitigator. What do I mean? I just basically sells insurance, right? Risk mitigator is a little bit more a better sexier term, right, than an insurance professional. But basically, what I do and what our team do is basically protect, your assets and the risks that you may have. Whether that's home insurance, that's car insurance, whether that's disability, and we're a one-stop shop. So we do it all from annuities, life insurance, retirement plans. So we do commercial insurance as well. And so when I got into the business, I came in as a lifer, just doing life insurance, and then being able to add more products and add more products, and it allowed us to have more income streams in one line that I actually have. So, we bring it in from home insurance, we bring it in from car insurance, we bring it in from life insurance, we bring it in from commercial insurance, we bring it in from disability, So there's so many different avenues that we can go, health insurance, group health. So we have so many avenues that we bring in, but the one thing that I've learned in my business is that I can do it, but if I can teach someone else to do it, so duplication is better for me. So, we have agents that's able to do the same thing. So we taught other people to do the same thing, and then we're able to teach people, and at the same time help people, and at the same time grow. And hopefully we can then, at that point, then we're able to see the fruits of our labor and our income. So that's basically what we do.
Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Good. My name is Eric Keese. I'm the owner and founder of Live Gigantic Real Estate School, Live Gigantic Enterprises. which Live Gigantic Real Estate School is under that umbrella. Offer primarily continuing education classes within the real estate industry. I just looked at, like Pastor said, really look at how to serve a need. And in the state of Georgia, real estate agents are required every 4 years to get 36 hours of real estate credit. And so I wanted to position myself in a business where I was almost recession proof, if you will, because it's a need that absolutely has to be filled by someone. So why not me, right? Got my real estate license in 2009. Just a little smidget of my story. Got my license in 2009. Was mentored by the wrong individual. Lost everything. Came back from the ashes. And it's just like he said. You truly have to fail before you can really learn how to become successful in business. Don't see it as failure though. It's lessons and wins. That's just all it is. You're not. We call it failure, but it truly is more about you learning and growing, because you have to grow into your blessings, if you will. So I count it as blessings to have been able to meet Pastor Broomfield. Met him in one of my real estate classes. He was asking all kind of questions. But we connected, man, and I feel like we've been, God truly blessed our paths to cross. And again, a point I really truly want to make sure I point out is be mindful of who you spend your time with. And everyone will not go with you. That is the most painful lesson. Everyone will not go with you. There is someone that you have in mind right now that you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell them about this, and they're going to go with me, and they're going to be so excited for me, and they're going to shoot you down. Don't let them keep you from your destiny.
That's right.
Don't let them keep you from your destiny, because it's your destiny, it's not theirs. And it's your vision, it's not theirs, right? So make sure that you push forward in your passion and in your purpose, because people will always, put you down and tell you, especially, we all family here, right? Them family and friends, oh Lord have mercy. Don't you tell them nothing, because there's going to be the ones that be like, man, you was broke yesterday. Now all of a sudden you own a business, right? So be mindful of the people you get around you. All of us business owners are laughing because we know we've been through it. And also, just really quick, it's a lonely place. Being in business is a lonely thing. You don't understand. That's one thing I wish somebody would have told me. It's really lonely in the beginning, because you have to work on your passion and your purpose, and you have to do it. You have to go it alone for a little while. So it's necessary, but it's real. It's real. Thank you.
Can I piggyback on this for 1 second?
Yeah.
Good. And I'm going to agree with him wholeheartedly. I don't want to steal his thunder. But I always think your business, I always say it's a baby.
It is.
It's your baby, right? And how you nurture it is how it's going to grow. So if you don't take the time to nurture your baby, it's not going to grow correctly. So just take your baby and nurture it correctly. Give it the time. Give it the nutrients, that you need. And then the other thing is, let's talk about, before I say, so what's the most valuable thing that you have right now? Anybody can answer. So what's the most valuable thing that you got right now? It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. Do something to just buy your time back. Because, see, the system have grabbed your time. All right? The system have grabbed your time. And you need to start doing something. Just buy some of your time. Because, as they say, you have 40 hours work week. That's what we usually have, right? You got a 40-hour work week in corporate.
When you're 9 to 5?
Yeah, when you're 9 to 5, you got a 40-hour work week. Start buying some of your time. When I say that, work on your gifts and the things that you have your passions for that you're going to do that you're going to do in the long term. Work on it a little bit. Start buying some of that time back. So, for instance, if you make $1,000 a week, then start doing something to say, you know what, I'm going to buy my $1,000 a week back. What I'm saying is, so you get your time back. So that's doing something. Your business now starting to give you $1,000. Well, it may be giving you $200 a week. Now it's giving you $400 a week, and you're working towards. So all you're doing is buying your time back. You know, so now you got your time back. Now you start doing the things that then you really can start being more creative. Because as long as the system have you, it kind of grabs you from being very creative. You know what I'm saying? So the system grabs you. Now you go into work, you come home, you got the kids, husband, wife, and it's a cycle. It's back over again. So when that happens, it stops you from being creative. You know what I'm saying? Until you can, unless, you wake up in the midnight, God, that's that time that God is working on you and you're praying, and then that's when the ideas hit, those kind of things. But when you have your time back, you have more time to be creative. So start working on your time.
I'm Jeremy Evans, and the first thing I'll say is these guys come home a whole lot cleaner than I do at the end of the day. I'm super dirty. I've got
Work
oil.
smarter, not harder. Right?
I've got oil. I've got grease. I've got dirt from all types of places. But I'm a timber harvester. It's more of loggers, pulpwooders, but I do it on a large volume. I clear for developments, land managements, and some residential things as well. If you know anybody's got 5 trees in their yard, I'll give you a number for somebody else, because you're not going to want my equipment in your yard for 5 trees. But on a larger scale, I started in transportation. And you spoke about how one business funds another business. Trucking funded the logging for me, and that's what I've been doing since. It kept me home every evening and not on the road for weeks at a time. So it just works better for me and having family. But it's true. It's true. One thing can fund another and another and another. That's really about it as far as who I am and what I do.
He actually has a video I want to show you all. I don't know if it's playing for us. Is it actually playing? Oh, it is actually playing. Okay. And so after they clear the land, he goes to the mill, and that's your living room furniture, that's your bedroom furniture, that's your desk that you sit at, right? There's business there. And so it's definitely something for you to do. All right, so I want to start with some questions, right? I'm going to start a question and you all come back. I want to go to Will. Insurance, I know, that's why I'm coming with this, so I can get the thoughts going. But this is not your first business, right? What was your other businesses that you did?
I started my first business as a Sprint retailer. I think I was like 22 years old. Hold on, go back. So I was doing pagers. Y'all remember that? So y'all know. So I was doing beepers and pagers, and then at that time, that's when cell phones was starting to come on, right? So I kind of got into the beeper and pager game a little late, you know what I mean? Because it was phasing out. But I did get I was able to grab a little bit of it and get some residual income from being able to have pagers. That's when AirTouch, which is now Verizon, and what's the other? T-Mobile. Back then it was something else. I can't remember what it is right now. But however, I was able to lease those lines for my pagers through them, and able to AirTouch was Verizon. I can't think. I think I can't think what T-Mobile was back then. But however, I was leasing the lines from them and able to have the airtime for the pagers. And then once that happened, it started to phase out. You have to grow, so you got to see what's going on. So I was able to then become a Sprint retailer. So I was a Sprint retailer for a while. And but at that time, Sprint wasn't paying well. I went with the wrong company, because at that time, T-Mobile, there was a different name, I can't think what it was, but at that time, they was really paying well. So they was paying like $400 per line. So a family came in, a family of 4, you're making $1,600 per family. And with Sprint at that time, they were just giving you spiffs. You paid for your own phones, and they was giving you spiffs. So if you sold the phone, they would give you $35 for a phone. However, so now you're really working, right? But basically, it phased me out, because I couldn't keep up with the for as money-wise to keep up, to take care of my family, pay the rent and all those things, because they was only giving out spiffs. And at that time, everything else was saturated. for us who had T-Mobile, so I couldn't get them to come in. So I basically went out of business. But I then went into the same business he did for a while. Then I went into selling cars. I had a car lot in Fayetteville, and I did that for some time. And then 2006, 8 hit, and that kind of phased me out of it. But I had a good friend of mine. Well, he became a good friend, and he was doing what I didn't know what I was going to be doing. He was insurance, stocks, and doing those kind of things. And he was buying maybe like 6, 7, 8 cars from me every year. And I was like, oh man, that's good. It was good for me. But when I started going out of business, he's like, hey man, you feel go out of business, why don't you start thinking about selling insurance and doing that kind of thing? I was like, oh man, I go home, I think about it, pray about it. I needed something to do anyway, so. I eventually did when I got my license and things like that, and I sold for him for a while, and that's how I really got into insurance. And didn't realize it was going to be a passion at that time, but then it became a passion, and I realized the need in our community that we need to understand the products and services that are out there that other people that are throwing out there to us so we don't understand it. So we need people to get the education and tell people about the products and services and use it in a way that it can be beneficial for our community. So we need the representation. I think it's about 40, 50,000 agents, I think, and I think only probably about 13% of us are black. So, we're still underrepresented, but at the same time, we need us to be able to get those things out there so you understand it and your children understand it. And so we don't be underinsured.
What you see is very similar, right? Pager company, he was able to move forward to Sprint. I sold Promco before they became Verizon, right? But as you see, those smaller startups help fund the other ones, right? Or at least if they didn't fund you, they connected you to the right person to get him where he wanted to be. And so he is now in insurance, and I think he has a whole lot of our stuff. I don't even like that dude like that. Any questions out there that you may have for any of us?
I have a question for Timberman. How did you transition from trucking into doing timber?
So with timber harvesting, there are different avenues. So you have logistics, which is taking the timber from the landowner to the mill. So that was already in the mix of what I was doing. So I took some of the equipment that I could use from the trucking company and just converted over to the timber company. So in my line of business, you have construction, which is the clearing portion of it. Again, the question, logistics, that portion of it. And also retail and sales, because I don't just go out there and say, can I have all your trees? There's a margin of profit for the landowner and myself. So it's got a lot of different variables to make it all work to the point that you saw it at the mill, being delivered. So yeah, that's how I kind of brought everything over.
So remember earlier we talked about knowing the transitional point, right? When the market is tanking or taking a dive, because it came right back up, right? It came up dramatically as far as the trucking side of it came, because you had a ton of barges out there in Savannah sitting on the ocean with stuff that couldn't move, right? By then he had changed his focal point, but again, in business you have to stay connected to your business. Stay connected to your business and know when it's moving, because the market moves. Remember, we talked about that. The market moves. And your time is important, that you are paying attention to the business that you're in. What is everybody else doing? What is the market doing? Is it getting ready to take a tank? Do I need to sell it? Right? And sometimes you miss. He didn't miss in regards to going to Sprint. I missed in regards to the whole Verizon thing because I saw a different parameter of business. So just know when it's going to move. Pay attention to it. Any other questions? Yep. Yes.
The question that I have, I would like to know if someone can expound on land trust and family trust, because that's something that I've been reading about it, but I didn't know if you all had any information that you wanted to share about that versus just having a will.
Okay. So, yes, and he's going to be one of the greatest men. Actually, one of the things we're going to do too, so stay connected with us. Here at LFTP, we do a training every third Saturday of the month. Next month is a home buying seminar, but I think we talked about July. I don't remember when we talked about doing it, but we plan on doing a financial seminar here, and it's going to involve trust and wills and things like that. But I'm going to let Will kind of answer that to as much as he can in this environment.
So I'm gonna try to answer as much as I can because I'm not a estate planner or estate attorney, so get that out there. So, you know, the difference between the two, between wills and trust, you got to remember that a will, trust is going to allow you to get past probate. Okay, so you can get right past that. Even if you have a will, you still have to go through probate. So you can have, and it's really important that most people really do trust if they have a lot of assets and things like that, because if it once it goes to probate, it can be contested. I have people come in my office all the time with all of the sad stories of where, for one, I call her a young lady. She's an older lady, but her husband passed, and she has a stepdaughter, but the house was left to her name. However, the house wasn't in her name, right? But the house was left to her. Well, the stepdaughter contested it, the whole thing, the whole estate. She even became the executor of the whole estate. You know what I'm saying? So now the wishes of the husbands didn't even go through. So, and I'm gonna say this again, it's probably important to make sure, because a lot of people try to skip the process where go and do a will, have two people witness it, and sign it and have it notarized. Now, just remember that judges, they want you to follow the process because it seems like they want you to pay the money, but they're going to respect the lawyer's signature versus just going out and get some witnesses. I'm just saying, so make sure that you go to a lawyer. If you're going to do your will, go to a lawyer and get it done. You're going to do your trust, go to a lawyer and pay the money to make sure you get it done, because it's going to be respected a lot more in courts. And that's just a tidbit. Just make sure you do that. But trust basically going to allow you to go past probate. They're going to let you pass your estates, probably tax-free and things like that. So that's the major differences of it. But you still need a will too. You need a living wills. Those are important as well. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Any other questions? We had another one in the back.
Well, I had a question for Mr. Will regarding insurance. This is something I always thought about, but how do you really make money in insurance? I mean, you're selling, you're getting the policy, but where's the
money coming from?
The
money is coming from the carriers. So the carrier is going to pay you on the premiums. So whatever your premium is, there's a set percentage that the insurance carrier is going to say, okay, this is the percentage that I allow you to have. And it's different between life insurance and health, even though they're considered the same, because when you get a license, you get a life and health license, right? But the way they pay out is different, and the percentages are different. And then with P&C, which is property and casualty, that's your home, your auto, commercial, general liability, things like that. They're gonna pay you a different percentage as well, and then it's more level. So again, for example, let's say that you have $1,000 a year life insurance policy. Well, the life insurance, they're going to pay you out, not as earned, they can pay you as earned or advanced. And a lot of times that's going to be on the full commission. And that can be anywhere from 50 to 100% or even 125% of that, right? So now, but you don't really have a residual in that, because they can end up, if it's a term policy, a lot of times you're going to have no residual. But if it's a whole life, you can have residual. So you can build your residual up in whole life policies more than you can term. But then on P&C side, it's more level. They don't give you up to no 50, 100%, things like that, because the turnover is a lot more, right? Because you'll change your insurance every 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Life insurance is going to be more steady, right? So they're going to say, okay, well, we'll give you anywhere from 8 to 10%, maybe 15%, depending on the product. And they allow that to be level as long as the product is there. So if you, every year, you may make anywhere from 8 to 15% of the total yearly premium. So that's how they makes the pay.
Nice.
I have one more question to the timber guy, Jeremy, Mr. Jeremy. With regards to harvesting, you know, because I've heard about that, and when you have land and we have a lot of trees, how do you actually connect with people if you like to harvest the trees in the land you own?
Are you speaking as if you're the landowner? Owner, excuse me.
Yes.
Go on, say it like you want to. Call me.
Most people come there, you pay them to cut the trees, and I'm quite certain they can make some money off the trees that they're logging
Right.
from your property. So how can you, as the property owner, actually make the money off the trees that are on your land?
The first step is finding a licensed logger, because you do not want anyone on your property that's not licensed. If they drop, or if a tree falls on your house or your sheet shed or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that's covered and protected. So that's the first thing. You run the credentials. Normally, I'll show you my credentials when I meet and consult with you. At that point, then at least you have the know that, well, this guy's not fly by night.
Shade tree.
Shady. And so
Right.
then normally you have what we call is cruising timber. The first time I heard the term cruising timber, I heard it from a forester, and he says, I gotta go cruise some timber. I'm like, that's gonna be nice. What ship line are you going on? No, which, because I had just started, I didn't know. And so he says, no, I gotta go cruise a tract of timber that's about 100 acres. And what happens is when you cruise that tract of timber or your personal property, we look through that property to determine what's good in there, what's valuable, what's not. And then we come back to you, or we go to the mills and we say, look, I've got an estimate amount of tons. What are you willing at this time to give me? So then they give me a number per ton. I take that number per ton, I factor in the trucking, I factor in the harvesting, and then I factor in the best amount that you can make on your timber. For you just to look out the front door and watch us cut your timber, and you sit back and get a check. So that's how it works. The more value inside your property, the more money you're gonna make.
So let's go a little bit further into that, because I've asked a lot of questions, and I asked him a lot of questions. And he and I have talked. They have pokewood, whitewood. You tell them.
So you've got a ton of species that grow around you. You've got white oak, you've got hardwood, you got pine. Pine would be the most common in our geographical area. You see a lot of pine trees. You also see a lot of pine trees that fall during the storms. The pine trees tend to fall first. The hardwoods, I guess they root a little bit deeper and their root structure is different. So when the tornadoes come through, most of the pine trees fall or they're pushed over. They root kind of high. And so pine is not your best species of tree to harvest, but if you do have a hardwood, that's where your better money is going to be. But just considering the fact where we live, you're going to have a lot more pine. And it being a lot more pine, the market's a little bit lower. If you've got hardwood and it's good hardwood, the market's going to be a bit higher because you have something that the need is a tad bit higher. Just wondering, what type of trees do you have on your property?
Well, we mainly have pine. And white oak.
So think about that. Look, his eyes got big. You got white oak. So, but look, think about that. That's definitely not one of the ones I thought about as far as financing your next venture. But, you may have some land that you can, harvest the trees and pull some funds out of it to start your next venture. But that is a great asset, because that's an asset for you. That's an asset for you.
So when you asked me
Go
when you asked me the question about insurance, were you asking that question because you was thinking about getting into the business?
I was at one point, I did go through the training for insurance, and I was looking into doing it, but I just didn't understand the nature of how you make the money off of it. So That's what I was asking, so I can understand how do you make money.
That's probably not the most important question though, because the money will be there. All right. The most important question is that, do you have a passion to go out and help people? Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what we need out there. Because there's so much misinformation going on. We need more advisors that are going to come out and make sure that our people are getting the right information. Because people are out there right now telling people just buy term, invest the rest in our community. That's a certain, there's a certain sector of carriers that are doing that. And as an advisor, that's not the right way to advise a person when it comes to their risk, right? Because before I even say that, I need to know what your risks are before I even be able to even tell you what you may need. You know what I mean? So we need advisors being able to go out there and say, hey, let me sit down with you, let's do a risk analysis and see what your needs are. You know what I mean? And then you can advise that way. So we need more advisors being able to come on and be able to help people. We need that. We need more advisors that will go out and help.
Right. That was one part of why I was looking into it because, my parents' insurance, that passed on now, it wasn't the best insurance. And, for my perspective in getting the education to educate other on insurance, because just like we heard other cultures, they actually know how to utilize their insurance to fund different things in their life.
That's right.
We don't necessarily have that knowledge and understanding of how insurance is important, one,
Right.
and how it can benefit you while you're living.
Yeah, and mostly because our parents, we had a person that came in, walked in, had a little red envelope or whatever, and they just sold them what they could sell them. You know what I mean? That's basically what happened, right? But there was no education going. They just said, I need some insurance. And they're like, oh, if I die, I need to make sure that I got some burial insurance. You know what I mean? That's all that I need. And then, we're not pitched to, just think about when you look at certain TV shows, I can guarantee you're not having too many Pacific Life videos coming in there. You know what I'm saying? You're not having, when we talk about Pacific, they're pandering to a certain sect of people. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's one of the things. So we need more people to be able to go into our communities and be able to say, hey, this is what first of all, what your needs are, but this is what we also have. So, like I say, we're underrepresented, you know what I'm saying? So, and we're underinsured by a lot. Most of the people out there right now that come to my office don't even know the difference between term and whole life. So if we can just get that one thing right there to understand term and whole life and how to utilize those two, that'd be great. So we need more advisors out there.
Amen. So I want to ask Eric, I know his story a little bit anyway, but I want to talk to him about starting Live Gigantic, right? You told me prior to you doing Live Gigantic, you work for somebody else. Get a little bit more dynamic into that and detailed into that of how it pushed you to start yours.
Absolutely. So does anybody working a full-time job now? Right. Man, listen, I sold lotions, potions, pills. You name it.
Wait. He in church talking about potions.
Hey, listen, I'm being truthful. It's the Lord's house. You might as well be truthful. You know what I mean? I just sold a little bit of everything. But all of that was part of the journey and part of the learning process, right? And so, with a full-time job, like Will was saying, I was trying to buy back time. So it was, Primerica, prepaid, you name it. I've done it. Short of Mary Kay, and I even tried Mary Kay a little bit. I'm like, they got men products?
Hey, you see this 6'9" driving a pink car?
Yeah, right. If I could have got it, I would have been in there. Mashing the gas. And so I did fairly well in corporate America because I have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? And I didn't understand this. So I was applying an entrepreneurial mindset to a corporate environment, which means I was always forward thinking, I was innovative, I was always applying things, but I always was in a place where I felt like, they weren't paying me my worth. And I know somebody want to raise your hand and shout hallelujah right now.
That
right?
part.
And so I took a leap of faith that I do not, I repeat, do not, N-O-T, not suggest you do.
Wait, take a leap of faith?
No. The leap of faith that I took. So I literally walked in one day with my resignation letter and was like, I'm done. And I know somebody on here is like, man, we in this conference. I'm about to do this. I'm about to get this funding. I'm about to sell this pulpwood to the timberman.
Yeah.
I'm about to get him out this job. And so I called my wife and I literally said, I don't know what's going to happen to the house. I don't know what's going to happen to the kids. I don't know what's going to happen to us. And if you tell me, I'll stay at this job, but I think I'm going to quit. And she was like, baby, I'd rather live in a cardboard box with you than to put you in one, because I was literally about to have a heart attack. And so I jumped. And I mean, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a job. I was just like, I'm going to go sell insurance, because I had talked to a couple guys and learned really, really quickly that insurance was not my passion. And so, pulled all my 401k. I did everything that Pastor told y'all not to do. So I pulled all my 401k, was like, yo, man, I'm gonna start a business. And then for 6 months, I just, because I was so aggressive in my career, I hit the executive ranks in before I turned 30. And so I was extremely, extremely aggressive in my career. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I got to wait 30 more years for somebody to die or retire for me to move to the next step. So I pulled my 401k and spent some time with just my kids, because I was always chasing everything else and trying to keep up with the Joneses. And so I really felt like I was losing my kids. And so
Wow.
I took that time to be dad and Mr. Mom. And so I was at the house cooking and cleaning, and she come home to a clean house and laundry folded and everything. She's like, I want you to stay here. You don't get a job, baby. But it is about patience, and it's about growth, and it's about learning. So I learned from that, because I used up all my 401k just being dad and didn't adjust my lifestyle. So used all of that money up and ended up having to work for a heavy equipment company. And so I sold heavy equipment. But what I was doing, in this company, I was learning. So, the guy, he was a friend of my wife, and I became really good friends with him. And he started teaching me business concepts. But he would say things to me in the workplace that would just make me go, wow, what in the world? I'm crazy. But we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
And so, he was like, Eric, and I'll never forget this comment. He said, Eric, I was a special ed student. I made D's all the way through school, and they told me I would never be worth anything. And now I own multi-million-dollar companies, and I hire A students. And I'm thinking, I'm an A student. I was an A student all through school, right? But rather than be offended by that, I said, okay, if this D student can learn it, I can learn it too, right? So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to talk back and be crazy. I'm going to study and learn. And so I spent 3 years at that company studying and learning how to sell equipment. So I learned sales there.
Research.
Yeah. And so from there, here goes the next part, network. It's not about what you know, it's about
Who you know.
So in that process, during that time, I met a gentleman who owned his own real estate company. And I literally picked the phone up one day and just called him and said, hey, man, I don't know what you got going on. I don't know what you're doing. I got the HR background, but I want to come work with you, bro. He was like, man, come on. I need systems set up. I need processes, procedures set up. I need this, I need that set up. And I had no clue that I wanted to teach real estate classes. Not at all. Though I did have a training background. And so started working with him. I wasn't always able to get a seat at the table, but I was willing to serve water just so I can be in the presence and just learn and learn and learn and learn. And so I learned sales from the other place. Then I started learning real estate practices and principles from this guy the right way, because, I learned from another person who helped me to lose everything pretty much. And so just studied and studied and studied under him for 3 years. So that's, now you're probably running the numbers, so that's 6 years total that I was just studying. And I was not making a lot of money. I went from a corporate exec to zero, really, like overnight. And And so, you know, I went from, I don't even know how much I was making a week, but it was a pretty considerable, gross like 2,500 a week to 500 a week. Feeding a family and all of this. And, you know, as men, we go through the provide and protect and all the mental stuff that goes along with that. And I would apologize to my kids, but they were always like, but you're here. Like, yeah, we had money and yeah, we were able to take vacations, but we have you now. And that's so much more valuable. So you don't understand what that journey and what that process does for you. So all of that is part of the growth, right?
That's right.
And so, you know, I studied under him. I taught for him. I taught. Helped grow his organization, his school at the time. He had owned his school for 17 years. And in those 17 years, he told me that he had never done more than 10 classes per month. And in 2 years' time, we were doing 40 classes a month. And I watched him go on vacations and take his entire family and extended family on vacations. And I'm like, what gives, man? You know, I said, you said we were going to grow together. We brothers. And you said you love me. Right? And I watched him buy a house on the lake with a dock. And he took me over to the house one day, and I just walked around the house, and I was still living in a little townhouse, man. And I'm like, yo, man, you know, my family deserves a house on the lake too. And he said, just keep teaching the classes, just keep teaching the classes, and you'll get to it. And sometimes God has to kick us off the cliff, because sometimes we won't jump on our own. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that was the little nudge that I needed, and say, if I can do it for him, I can do it for myself.
That's right.
Been extremely blessed and fortunate to grow the school to one of the more influential schools in the Atlanta area in 3 years. And so, you know, and that's during the pandemic. That's during, you know, I started my school literally 2019, did 20 classes the first year, 20 total from June to December. In January, did 10 classes. In February, had 15 classes. In March, had 20 classes scheduled. And I'm like, oh, it's about to be a good year. And then the pandemic came and shut everything down. But it, you know, it was God's timing. It was perfect timing, because my dad got sick. And so I had to go and caregive for him. But I was extremely blessed and fortunate that I had taken the steps to push towards my passion, that I was able to spend, you know, the last moments of my father's life with him through December. But also in that same time, you have to flip, right? You have to flip your business. And so I took my business from in-person classes to online classes, which really blew me up, because that's when people really started to have more access to me. Rather than being in the class with me, they were able to see me online, and people just tended to like my teaching style versus other instructors. So, but it's a journey. It is a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's not about the destination, and don't get caught up on that destination so much that you miss the journey, right? Because there's so many moments on the journey that really help you become who you need to be in order for you to fulfill your real purpose.
Wow. He is one of the sought-out schools for real estate now. He and I met. I went to one of his classes, and then I went to another one, and that's when I pulled him to the side and said, let me take you to lunch. Asked him. We sat there over a couple of hours. Yeah, having a conversation, asking questions. And then I said, you're not on the south side. I need to bring you to the south side. And I started calling lawyers on the south side that I knew in schools. They were like, I said, do you do this? Like, yeah, man, we use Live Gigantic. I'm like, what? So he's really known more than he really thinks. It's just that they just haven't brought the schools here because we're all driving up there to Dunwoody and Alpharetta to take the schools. But I plan on getting that. I plan on adding that to Broomfield Enterprises to bring more classes down here so that we can grow business down here. Listen, it is 2:01. Do you have? I want to give you just a few more minutes, more questions, and then we'll call it a day. I know we had you from 10 to 2. I pray that it was good information for you. I pray this is something that will really light the fire to push you forward, right? This is not the end. This is not the be all of everything, but I definitely know, I pray that it lit a fire to get you to asking the questions, taking your journal, maybe getting off social media, get off TV and writing in your journals and planning, and then begin to move forward. So do we have any other questions before we pray? Amen. And I'll let you all have your day back.
Can I speak to something really quick?
Yes, of course.
Y'all listen, I can't reiterate enough. Really, when you're thinking about starting your business, really, really, really look in your area and grow where you're planted already. And what I mean by that is there is a need in your world right now.
Yep.
That it may not even be your passion, like William said, but it can grow into your passion. You do it enough, it'll be your passion, I promise. Right? But really look for the need. And one of the reasons my school has been able to grow is because I fulfill needs. Like when people say, I think I may be the only school in the state of Georgia that offers gun classes. Because someone was like, I'm gonna start carrying a gun. And she said, I can't pull a little thingy back. You can't rack the slide? She's like, oh, yeah, that thingy. So I started providing classes. And that has helped me, oh, my gosh.
Speaking of which, I think we scheduled June.
Yeah.
We're going to have basic handgun class as one of our seminars here at LFTP. Okay? It's going to be a separate cost, and we'll get that together and put that out there for you to know, though. Yep.
But look for that need. Look for that need. Even look in your own life. Like what just sit down and just ask yourself, like Pastor said, journal. Ask yourself, what is something I really need in my life right now? He alluded to a lot of things that I've seen in my life, from the daycare. My daughter went to a daycare that was started in-home daycare. If you love kids, you can start a daycare right inside of your house in the state of Georgia. As long as you don't have over 6 kids, you can have a daycare right in your house. Right now. And this woman started her daycare right in her house. She had 6 kids. She was charged, this was, 18 years ago now, because my daughter's getting ready to turn 19. She started the daycare. She would charge like $120, $125 a week for 6 kids. You start adding that up, and that went from 6 kids to then she opened up an outside daycare to now this lady owns 4 daycares in Athens, Georgia. And it all started from her just saying, it started from her wanting to homeschool her own child. She was like, I don't like what they're doing out there. So she started homeschooling her daughter. Somebody else asked. She had a real amazing heart. So, I just wanted to put it out there because there's a need. There's a need in your world right now.
Yeah. Remember I told you, if you can meet a need, you can make money, right? If you can meet a need, you can make money. I pray that you get the the eye set, the lenses, the filter to see what's wrong, right? When you can see what's wrong, we've been plenty of places and we complain, but if they could do it this way, it would work better. Capitalize on that, right? Write a book about it, or build yourself into a brand of consulting to help them, right? To change it, right? Eric has been able to come and what he was doing for somebody else, turn around and do it for himself. And I believe his name, Live Gigantic, will be around for a very long time, right? And so you have to see the value when you look in the mirror, right? Because it starts with you. And then you find the thing that God's going to bless you with, whether you're passionate, or like I say, because passion is good. When you're passionate about something, you never work a day in your life. You love doing it. You love having fun with it. But then sometimes the dollars and cents just make sense. Amen. Right? And you'll do what's necessary. You've been doing what's necessary for your 9 to 5, making somebody else happy. You've been sacrificing, making sure your bills got paid, and so maybe you prop that up to sell it to do your passion later on. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Amen. So, yep.
Work your business.
Amen.
Work your business. Now, what I mean by that, so I had a person that has they have a full-time job and they have a business on the side. And then they said they're not making enough money that they need to go get a part-time job. So now they feel to work double. They're talking about doing full-time job and full-time job. I said, that don't make any sense there. I said, you have a business. Work it. I said, what if you gave your business? I said, how many hours have you gave your business?
That's right.
You haven't gave your business that. I said, matter of fact, pull out your phone. Well, how much screen time you got on your phone? You're probably looking at Facebook, social media more than you're giving to your business. So all I said to say is, work your business.
That's right.
More than what you would work on somebody else's job. Work your business.
That's right. No, he's absolutely right. If your screen time says that it's on social media, let that social media be on Mondays or Sundays where you're planning your graphics or your postings. You can schedule your graphic and your postings, right? This is one of the things I'll teach in the one-on-ones. But you can schedule your graphic for your social media management. You can say, on there all day Monday, as long as you're posting, you're scheduling your posting to fall on Tuesday, to fall on Wednesday, right? For your business, in the business world that we're in today, that's where the people are. They're socializing on social media, and you want it to be in front of them. And so spend your time creating. There's apps out there. If you're not a graphic designer, there's apps out there that'll help you. Right? Create them and then schedule them and let it run all week. And then next Monday, do it again. Right? And the following Monday, do it again. And just let it ride. Okay? But work your business. Being an Entre-PRAY-Neur requires discipline. Remember I told you earlier, if you're looking at TV, looking at social media, turn it off. Spend more time journalizing. My journal used to be books. Now it's my phone. I have a whole lot of notes on my phone. Hallelujah. But I'll, any question, I'll put it in there. Journal. Do your research. And that's where you allow God to reveal to you the thing that he's going to use, that thing that's in your hand.